Dad podcast, post Cans, back on the live stream today, and a little bit of a continuation of Can, actually. We've got Christian Brown, an old friend who's now a better friend since we got to meet in person. Did a little bit of business with him on the management side and the creator economy, and got to meet him in person. He showed up to my first event of the Can week at the Lost In Creator Dinner, and we were able to connect and get a little bit into his story. And unfortunately, we weren't able to make it happen at Can, but I'm excited to have you back. So thanks for coming on, Christian.
Yeah, Dylan, thank you for having me. And let it be known in the record, we tried a plethora of times whilst in Can to meet up, whether I was trying to get you to come on this boat or we were trying to meet at dinner or we were trying to do this. But that was the busiest 5 days that I've certainly had in quite some time. So I'm glad that we got to make this happen back on the virtual side of things.
Yeah, I love it. Well, it was definitely my fault. We broke an all-time record. We did 60 shows at Cannes, so it's a little bit. We get probably our most inbound pitches for the show, but we also are pretty proactive in trying to fill up our dance card. So it's always a little tough to try and get somebody in like on the fly, but always down to make it happen after the fact. So appreciate you jumping on today.
Amazing.
So yeah, man, why don't we, if it's good for you, I want to kick off with your intro and kind of your bio, because I think, you're a young founder and you're still pretty close to, early days. So, I want to talk a little bit about that if that's good with you. So, yeah, man, Christian Brown is the co-founder and chief marketing officer of Glewee. He's also a Forbes 30 under 30, and he is a marketing executive, a creator economy strategist based in the greater Miami area, coming to us from Boston today. And I think you're recently a transplant to New York, right?
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah. Riding up and down the East Coast of the U.S.
Let's go. Well, as co-founder and chief marketing officer of Glewee, which is an all-in-one influencer marketing platform that automates and scales how brands, agencies, and creators collaborate. Recognized by Forbes on the 30 under 30 list for marketing advertising, Brown is a prominent voice in the martech space, specializing in Gen Z consumer behavior, data attribution, and influencer networks, and creator monetization. Christian, maybe we could start, a little bit with, I know I gave you your high level there, but I know you attended DePaul University in Chicago, but where did you grow up? And tell me a little bit about your origin story of how you found yourself founding Glewee at such a young age and kind of getting into this creator economy space.
Yeah, so I grew up in, funny enough, where I am right now, a small town of Danvers, Massachusetts, on the North Shore of Massachusetts, where influencer marketing certainly did not exist. Not only from the fact that it was like still fresh and new as like an economy, but also the fact that there wasn't a whole lot of entertainment industry coming out of there. So, when I was younger, throughout middle school and high school, I was like very into kind of the social media scene. The running joke I say is, and it's not even a joke, but I posted more Instagram stories than days I've been alive. So I've been documenting my life for I'm 28 now. So well over 15 years, like posting consistently cross-platform every day. And in a small town, if you want to venture out of things like sports or local news or anything like that, you kind of had to find a different avenue. And as social media was developing and really coming into the scene, this is like the Facebook generation, the early YouTube video was really just coming out in long form. I was really drawn towards that, and I gravitated towards that because I could find people that had similar likes and interests to me. And so I found myself online, making friends online, and really learning like what businesses were being built online through Tumblr, through Instagram, and all that. And so I started posting photo after photo after photo, documenting my life. And then in high school, I built one of my first e-com businesses through like my high school DECA program. So shout out that. And was able to actually look at social and be like, wait, if I just start marketing it through social, I can build a following. I can actually start selling products. And so I went on to build like my first lifestyle brand called OK, and sold over like 10,000 units over the course of a couple of years.
Wow.
And so I not only used like my local friends, but like my friends I met in Boston and New York and Miami and Chicago and LA, like all friends that I had met through social media to really build the brand and market it. And with that, I was able to meet a lot of some like big influencer friends. They were like, hey, I want to build a brand. okay, let's build a creator brand off of this influencer. Let's start building these new product lines and let's build these other e-com stores. And so I found myself very quickly able to spin up these e-com Shopify stores. And I just like was naturally at the intersection of creators with big following and e-commerce stores. And then with that, it's kind of like, all right, I knew I wanted to go study advertising at school. So like you mentioned, I went off to study advertising and marketing at DePaul. So I moved to Chicago, and that put me in like the middle of the country. And I was traveling every minute I could, like every weekend that I had off, like any school break, like was traveling back and forth to LA, to New York, to Miami, just working with like creators that we knew. And that really like opened my eyes, not only at the school level where it's like, hey, these media plans that we were looking at were of tens of millions of dollars. I'm like, wait a second. So eventually the brands are going to look at this and say that they need to start investing more in like social and influencer and digital. And on the influencer side, there's only going to be a bigger surplus of creators. And so we found ourselves looking at a double-sided marketplace. And it wasn't until junior year in LA that I became really close with this team, this like house of influencers, where Dylan Duke, who I went on to found Glewee with, we really looked at that from the managerial side and said, all right, like, you know, creators are looking for more deal flow and more organization, and brands are forever going to be looking for influencers. So if we can solve a double-sided marketplace problem there, then we're on to something. And it wasn't until the following year that COVID began in 2020. And we said, well, there's a lot of time on our hands right this second. What better time than the present to really just like go all in on something? And what is that, 5.5 years ago? We never looked back. So that was kind of how it went from a little small town in Danvers, Massachusetts, where I got involved in social into, getting it to the point that we've now distributed millions of dollars through our platform back into the creator economy through like creators and creator marketing.
I love it. Well, it's a great story. I think it's a great, story of like following your passion and the idea that, you don't have to necessarily like, drop out of college and not go to school to like, do these types of things. Like, you remind me of another guy I know that I really respect, Dylan Huey, who runs Reach. He's kind of same thing, like kind of came up through the creator economy and built the social media clubs at USC and turned that into a management company. Tech play and all that stuff. So
and that club actually produced a good friend of mine, Gigi Robinson, who brought me to your dinner. So that club single-handedly, indirectly introduced you and I 10 weeks ago.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was trying to get, I was actually supposed to do Gigi's show. We were going to do a show swap on Friday, but she ended up having some travel thing. So we're going to try and connect as well. But yeah, she seems like a really smart gal as well. So, all right, cool. So, so I love the story, kind of started off as kind of a quasi creator. Then as a lot of people kind of got interested in the business side and helping friends, but then eventually landed on the tech play. So, when you kind of saw the power of creator marketing and what you could do with a handful of friends in these e-commerce shops, that's a big step from like building a double-ended marketplace and a platform, which is hard because it takes investors, money, coding, like to build product is a way bigger undertaking. So without getting into the details of the finances side, like what was your go-to-market? Like, did you want to, and there's also a lot of competition in kind of the creator marketplace ecosystem. So what was your go-to-market and what was the specific maybe niche or like part of the creator economy that you thought platforms that you had seen in the past weren't solving for? And then how did you build that, knowing that, this takes resources and you got to go out there and, essentially build product and stuff like that. So I'd love to hear a little bit about the that early days.
So when you think about like, the marketplace, right, we have to think about it two-sided, right? So with that, we have an iOS app for creators and web platform for brands. And so we always set forth to build that double-sided piece of technology that spoke to itself and spoke to one another. So with that, let's kind of break it down into two sides. Let's start on the creator side. So first, we knew that we needed an iOS app. Like that was, no matter what, we wanted to have an iOS based app for creators that included deal flow, communication, contracting, pay in and pay out, all the way down to actually building a portfolio. So looking at like what was happening manually on the creator side and what was happening over email to get a deal done and bringing that all into one place while enhancing deal flow. So we knew we needed that. And then in order to get that, we need the web platform for brands. So we looked at that and said, okay, in a marketplace model, there's going to be a chicken, there's going to be an egg. What chicken were we going to build first? We were going to go for the creator side. So we built our like V1 of our iOS app, and we begged. We texted every person we knew, said, please download this, give us some feedback, let us know what it is, how it is. And then, originally people were like, well, what do we do on it? And I was like, oh man, you're right. We built the app. Now we need to go get the brands. So we were building the brand web platform simultaneously. And so with that, once we had both of them like out of MVP phase and we brought it to market, it was really like guerrilla style. So on the creator front, we went at it where like we were looking, so we're just US based, but we look for lifestyle, fashion, beauty, fitness, health, and wellness, like a little more of the consumer facing creators. So once we got our first batch of a couple hundred people on just through our network, we were learning what they wanted, right? How are we supposed to set up the portfolio, and how do we want to set up billing, and at what point do we want to authenticate the socials, right? So there were a lot of hurdles that we originally needed to get over with user feedback, and then we just built and iterated very quickly, right? 2-week development cycles, deploying as much as possible, getting feedback, and continuing that loop, while also working on the brand side, literally begging brands, like anyone we could get our hands on or get a conversation with, will you please give us just a little bit of budget to launch a very small influencer campaign, and we will teach you how to do it on our platform and we'll manage it, just so that we could get deals on the campaign board. And so we would be launching these deals for the brands, and then we'd be telling all our creator friends, hey, go sign up for this, like go apply for it on the app. And so really quickly, we were able to start pushing deals through. And we were like, okay, wait, the creator signed the contract, brand, go ship the product. So we were kind of cranking the wheel manually, but at the same time, it was working. And then I remember like the very first brand deal that went through the platform was $75. And, we took 15% of it. And I remember like, I almost cried because I remember the exact moment I was like, there's no way it worked. Like it actually, like we cranked every step of that wheel manually, but it worked, and the creator got paid out, and I watched them take their funds out of Stripe. And I was like, oh my goodness, the model's proven. Let's go. Like full steam ahead. And then from there, over the next 18 months or so, this is going to sound crazy, we sent out like 1.2 million emails. It was actually 24 months. But every creator in the US that met our criteria based on follower count, engagement rate, brand suitability, and past brand deal experience through a very intensive process and flow that we built, was emailed many, many, many times to download Glewee. And we picked up our first 40,000 downloads just with that one campaign. And it was running like 24 hours a day. So at one point we get like a couple hundred to 1,000 downloads a day. Now there's a download and application process associated, but we went as guerrilla marketing as humanly possible, so that we could really just go like high volume on this. And we would go to events and stuff. And some of our first creator events we'd attend, we had like a step and repeat behind us with the Glewee logo. And people would come up and be like, oh, wait, hey, it's you guys. Like you email me, and they'd show us the phone, and like it'd be our headshots with like a bunch of different names associated. Like, hey, you emailed me, like I downloaded your app. And I was like, yes, we did. So that was kind of our initial go to market on the creator side. Brand side was pretty standard, like getting our name out there in the influencer marketing platform space, reaching out through any agency or brand partner or anyone we knew. In the earlier days, I would beg my influencer friends just to have access to their email, and any brand that was emailing them, like to work with them, I knew that they were emailing a lot of creators. So I'd just get on the phone and call them. We'd be like, hey, we have a platform for this. What if we just gave it to you for free and you pushed your brand deal dollars through? And so that's how we got to a point that the flywheel was starting to motor without us. And then we just scaled from there.
I love it. I think a lot of these marketplaces, kind of went the opposite direction that you did. They started with the brand, thinking like what's important for the brand, and really thought of the creator kind of as the secondary component. I think it's interesting that you guys built with the creator in mind first, which is actually pretty smart, because at the end of the day, nobody cares about your platform if creators aren't on it and it's not easy to use, and the user experience isn't built, in a way that is like intuitive and useful and in some ways fun for the creator. And I love that you talk about the idea of downloads too. Like creators are mobile first. A lot of them don't even have computers, or they don't care about a computer. I mean, they do have computers, but they're like really like phone and mobile first. So it sounds like you guys really built your platform with the idea that it was like a mobile app before it was, some kind of like a, platform web app that you had to log onto or something.
I did. Well,
do you have those in mind?
Yeah, for us, like we are just now, 5 years in, we're just now building our web app for creators. Like over
Wow.
the past, we've taken this entirely to and through the market with the creator first mobile app. Now the brand side, brands and agencies have a web platform. It's a very
Yep.
complex, it's a intricate, I think of it as like this delicate process of creating and deploying campaigns and managing creator marketing. But on the creator side, it's as simple as they open their app, I can show you right now. And there's deals of the day, there's full deal flow. It looks and feels like Uber Eats. The chat feels like iMessage. The contracts are as easy as liking a photo on Instagram. Like we do all these things with a very mobile first approach. If you look here, you can see even on the Glewee platform, these are all the deals that came out just today,
I
right? So
love
like
it.
these are all, if you qualify, you get a notification. And with that, if a brand says they want females on the West Coast, age 18 to 32, for a new swimwear line, for example, that criteria that they set in the campaign creation process on their computer, it all goes out, and every creator that qualifies based on follower, location, gender, engagement rate gets a notification in real time that a new campaign with the campaign value is available for them. So when a brand pitches a $250 or $500 per post campaign for micro influencers, they can get anywhere from like 25 to 55 influencers that apply within the first hour. So like, having a high supply on the creator side of interested, engaged, and very happy to be their creators, and then having great brands that want to hire them. That's how we built the marketplace. But we just did it where the two sides were native from the tech perspective.
Yeah, it's really smart. People have been trying to figure out like an end-to-end solution for influencer marketing since, the earliest days of creator economy. Really, marketers have always been looking for a solution that is as easy to operate as like programmatic media buying or launching a Facebook ads campaign or using Google AdWords. But I think that oftentimes marketers maybe discount the idea that, creators at the end of the day, they're not, banner space on the internet. They're human beings. They're creative. They're creative
Yep.
by design. That's why they're called creators, and they're humans. But, the promise or the panacea of like end to end being able to like set up what you want on one side and then, log on days later, hours later, and then you have a campaign live and things are running and metrics are tracking and sales are coming in and you've got dashboards, et cetera. Kind of like end-to-end influencer marketing as a SaaS-based platform versus a service business has always been attractive, but it is at the end of the day a human business. Where do you feel are the most important parts to continue to have a human in the loop as we continue to move more and more to an automated world as AI takes over more and more
Yeah.
aspects of the funnel?
I think like a major difference between programmatic or even a Meta, Google Ads, traditional digital or out of home, whatever, and influencer marketing is that we're not just working with the platform to display, right? We're not just like paying a DSP and then it's deployed and then it's out there and the data is tracked, like you said. What we're doing is we're actually hiring a human being to be creative, to either receive a product or a service, make content that fits their audience, their niche, the brand guidelines, the content style, the hook, make it 45 seconds, actually edit it, add the subtitles, and submit it back. Now, I think the most important element to that is the human element, right? Now, the systems themselves will always be able to say, hey, here's the brief, here's the goal, here's the content style, here's the hook. But I think when it gets down to it, like actually having questions on, hey, is this idea good, right? Is this going to work? Hey, I think my audience is going to like this the most. I think at the ideation phase and the management phase, those are where human in the loop are always going to be required. Because at the end of the day, the creator side of it is never going to be fully autonomous. I think like, as AI gets better, we're going to be able to ideate faster on campaign styles, campaign hooks, and creative briefs and everything else. But we're still going to need to realize that we're going to be hiring and managing real people. And when something happens to that person, or if they need a couple of days to continue working on the creative, we need to give them that. And we need to have that human emotion that allows for that. Because what are we trying to do? Pay Samantha $250 or $500 or $5,000 to create a video for us that could live on forever. So why rush it? And why take the emotion out of it when we could simply just have a human in the loop to make that relationship, and to maintain that relationship between the brand and the creator.
Yeah, I love it. So you think that platforms will always be kind of the operating system, but there's going to be creatives and strategists and influencer managers, kind of people who speak the language. There's always going to be humans in different parts of the funnel because it's innately a human to human business.
Yeah, and like realistically, yeah, the data is great. And the creator's audience, right? The audience demographic, the psychographic, demographic profile and makeup of that audience, and their engagement rate and their follower count. Those are the quantitative sides of what makes a great creator program. But just looking at the creator and understanding, are they a good fit for the brand? Did the person that's developing the product or service have this creator profile in mind when they built it? Every time we build a new product or service, you're thinking about the ICP. You're building it for a cohort or a group of people or an individual or a problem to solve. Let's take that person you're building it for and let's make them the influencer, right? We think about ICP as ideal customer profile. In our world, internally, we describe it as ideal creator profile. So we want those two things to match, because when you can get a real person, a real creator, talking about your product, walking with your product that looks, walks, and talks like your ideal customer profile, now we're going to create a flywheel that piece of content the creator made is now a reusable asset across your own social, landingpage.com level, paid ads. So you can use that one $500 video over and over and over to drive endless amounts of revenue off that. So like, can you forecast that just off the quantitative element? I don't know, right? I think the human in the loop will be able to say like, no, that person, that is going to be a good brand fit, or no, that data looks good, but they don't actually match the vibe of the brand.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea that you're talking about, ideal creator profile as just a representative of kind of the muse or like the core target user of the product. And I think your platform speaks a lot to, how far creator economy has matured, where the idea that, there are so many creators, so many influencers now, you really can kind of hone in on working with and recruiting and creating and working with creators that are like representative of your customer base. And it kind of like speaks to that authenticity, but it also allows you for customization, right? Because, there might be many, like people always like when people do like avatar building or like try and think about their audience segmentation, they always come up with like, oh, here's our 5 avatars and the people that we're targeting. But in reality, there are maybe 100 avatars that represent the different micro niches of types of people that use your product for different reasons, for different emotional connection, or even different outcomes and use cases. So I love that idea that like you can get really specific about like, don't sacrifice brand fit, like really dial in and like try and find those people that actually are like representative of, maybe even people who used your brand before you reached out to them initially.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Cause like, as let's say you're a consumer product, you have a lot of data on your purchase history, right? You know a lot about these people. And like with good social listening, you can understand who's posting organically and you can kind of understand, all right, the brand is going in this direction. And like, I mean, anyone that's built a product knows not all the time are you going to nail it where the exact people you built this for are the purchasers. Sometimes you're going to be like pleasantly surprised. And like when you are pleasantly surprised that a new cohort of people are purchasing, you need to look at it and look at data to say like, okay, like we should actually lean into this. And then you can pull it all the way back and say, we didn't even know that we needed an influencer that was like this, but now we do. And so like good data will allow you to open up those doors, and then strong audience segmentation, influencer discovery, and relationship building will help you bring in partners on the creator side that fit for that.
I love it. You also mentioned an important component, which is paid. Creators are kind of the flywheel now that's driving a lot of the advertising that's living out in the world, whether that's in social or, I even saw an ad on the airline on my flight home from Barcelona for Olafly. That was
Olafly
travel creator, right? It's
yes,
like
they are. They're
creator.
going pretty heavy.
Yeah, well, it's travel creator in the context of like, I know you're traveling internationally, so it's the right ad, right place, right message.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
But be curious, going specifically to paid social, And I think this tracks a lot to how your guys are thinking about creator economy and the evolution of your platform. We've moved into this new world where, for before TikTok, everything was about followers. Post TikTok, it's about algorithmic relevance.
Yep.
So it's about, like my daughter has 60,000 followers on Instagram, right? Yeah, she's a creator, but there's so many options to choose from now. They're like the creator economy is wide and deep, and you talk about your experience as a young person. I think at one point 67% of millennials and Gen Z wanted to be creators.
Yes, they did.
And then
people stopped wanting to go to the moon.
And then also this idea that like you need lots of at bats. I think like three vertical videos a day to like optimize feeds for TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts. How should brands think about paid strategy in the idea that like, hey, if you put a lot of stuff up in organic social, see what things hit the algorithm, that's probably the right place to like pour gas on the fire and like put more paid media dollars. And do you guys actually do any of the paid stuff? Do you advise on the paid stuff? Where do you sit in that paid media side of the conversation?
So, we've processed thousands and thousands and thousands of collabs right across millions of dollars over the past couple of years. And with that, we've learned a lot of things. One major thing we've learned is the quintessential element of paid in this flywheel. So for us, when we think about strong and beneficial brand collabs that drive the most like return, ROAS, revenue, whatever that KPI metric is, we think of it in 4 ways. One, sourcing. So sourcing and hiring those right fit creators, right, which happens through our platform. Once we do that, managing the licensing rights of that content. So we always go into the strategy, the negotiation. A lot of like everything we do is built around getting licensing rights for the brand, whether it's organic or paid. So we manage that through our platform as well. Once that content is created and deployed, now it lives on the creator's feed, but also the content lives in the content library. So what we do is, to answer your question, yes, we very much do the paid ads and we very much advise on it, because when that content from that right fit creator is then reused in paid, amplified in paid, repurposed in paid, redistributed in paid, that's when it becomes a piece of creative that has real lifetime value. Because what we see is, and anyone listening will definitely understand this, when a piece of content goes out into social, it is just it's an at bat, right? It's a video out into the algorithm. The more followers you have, maybe a little more fire on or fuel on the fire, but it has about 72 hours of lifespan. It's going to increase. It's going to have a little bit of time to plateau and continue gaining momentum. And if it doesn't reach that next level of virality, it's going to dump off, right? And you're going to hit that peak, apex, and then it's going to be pretty standard. You're going to get, 1/10 as many views per day as you did in the beginning. So at hour 72, that's when we kind of suggest, okay, let's turn this into a paid, right? And so let's say we have 20 videos going live over the course of the month. What we want to do, let's say it's on Instagram, is turn those into collab posts. And then from the creator side, we get the ad code. From there, we can run it as a piece of performance. Now, what we do is we standardize a lot of those campaigns. So let's say 20 pieces, everyone is going to get $100 in test. And we're going to look at
test everything regardless of how it performs in organic, because it might still work in paid.
Exactly, because in paid, right, in organic, you're going out to the audience of the influencer and the algorithm. That's really it. Like the sample size audience is pretty gated around who you're working with, right? The algorithm is the algorithm. In paid, now you can get super granular, even down to like a hyper geolocated audience where this is being deployed. So let's test everything as a standalone asset in paid and isolate it away from how it did in organic. Take the organic data and like kind of cement it in stone and say, hey, this worked best in organic versus the other ones. But in paid, it's a whole new ballpark. And then from there, based on your KPI goals, whatever's hitting those goals best, maybe it is a click-through rate, or maybe it's a cost per click or a cost per download or a CAC, whatever's working best, graduate that into a winner's ad set and continue putting fuel on that fire, and then learn from that. Because maybe it's a specific creator, content style, hook, variant, whatever it might be. Learn why that video did so much better than the others, and then continue building and iterating more influencer videos based on that. Because now you found a formula that worked for your brand and your audience. So let's create more based on that. So we
Yeah,
use
I
that
love.
data to kind of teach the next phase. Because like for us, influencer marketing campaigns are not a one-time thing. Like we are here to be the influencer marketing team and technology that powers the brand or agency to build what we call our influencer powered growth engines. And when we do that, this is an over and over and over approach. So we want to use the previous learnings from paid, organic, influencer, et cetera, to then power the next iteration and strategy for the campaign.
Yeah, it's smart. I never thought, like, a lot of people are saying, oh, like, wait till, the video gets a lot of views and then choose the ones that, but just because a particular video got views, it doesn't mean it got views by the right people. And it might just have been time of day, algorithm hits, whatever. So I love that idea of like,
Yeah, and like think about
at
it. If
least
you
giving everything a chance and paid.
Yeah, and like if you work with a creator that has 10,000 followers and then another that has 385,000 followers, of course the creator with 38.5x the amount of followers is probably going to get more views. So you
Yeah.
might look at that and be like, "Oh, we have to amplify that. It's better." But if you look at your like CPM on it, maybe the micro creator actually outperformed. Right? So it really, you have to be looking at it with the goals in mind. But when it comes to paid, test everything, like throw everything at the wall. Something will stick. High volume, a lot of creative, a lot of good targeting, and constant iteration.
I love it. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the compliance bottleneck. You guys emphasize that your database isn't just straight from the web, but it's actually a two-sided marketplace where creators have to explicitly apply and authenticate through Stripe. So you're not just talking about social APIs; you're talking about like literally like you're opting in, so to speak, through your bank account or how you want to get paid. In an ecosystem where there's a lot of fake engagement, bot networks, ways to kind of goose following, people that have paid for their following. What is kind of the criteria in which you reach out to a creator to recruit them to the platform? And then, why is having a two-place marketplace that is an opt-in so much more valuable than just a database that's looking at kind of everybody and everything?
So we'll kind of take it in two steps. One, looking at the creator side. So for us, we look at it in tiers. Like the influencer marketing realm is broken down by these tiers. It goes nano, micro, mid-size, macro, mega influencers. Then you get into your celebrities, right? We're all very familiar with those. And yeah, at the mega influencer celebrity level, the lines start to blur. But thinking about it, a nano influencer in the beauty space is actually different than a nano influencer in the ed tech space, right? Your education technology space, because of the sample size of the full industry. So what we do is we look at it per industry and per niche. And then from there, we have what a good follower count and engagement rate should be for a creator at the nano, micro, mid-size, macro, mega level. So as influencers are applying to join our platform, they're actually identifying what their top 3 niches and categories are. Based on that, we're looking at their follower count and engagement rate to ensure that they do fit within the community guidelines. We look at suitability for work, past brand deal experience, what brands they've worked with. It's a pretty diligent process we have. Then once they're admitted into the platform, they become a member of our opted-in network. Now, to your second question, the influencer marketing industry actually breaks down into 4 buckets. One is those databases, which we'll get back to. 2 is what we have, which is an opt-in network. 3 is going to be a hybrid of the 2. And 4 is your traditional agencies. Now, a database platform, what does it do? It's great for search and discovery. Like you can filter through tens of millions of creator profiles globally. You can filter by a plethora of different things. It's fantastic technology that exists out there. But at the end of the day, the end final product that you're paying for is to build a CSV or a list of influencers. Now,
Yeah, and then sometimes they don't even have contact information, and there's no
right.
guarantee. There's no
It's
guarantee that they're going to get back to you.
right. And like Zoom Info works really well, right? But like, does Zoom Info actually sell the contract? Or does Zoom Info just give you the lead? Right. Like
Right.
it's very similar to that. And in influencer marketing, there's a couple components. There's your search and discovery, which is what we just talked about. Then there's your communication. So actually getting the contact of the influencer, maybe it's email, maybe it's DM, right? Like traditionally you would contact them somehow. Then when you do want to work with them comes legal and compliance. So who's doing the contracting, who's setting it off, what's the process flow there? Once the creator's in the campaign, you have to actually ship them the product or get them the service. They have to then create the content. And then there's the content creation, submission, feedback, review, and approval loop. So that has to happen somewhere. Then the content needs to go live and you have to track the data. Now, once the creator has finalized the payment or finalized the piece of the process, posted the video, we have to pay them. So what are the payment rails, the compliance, the KYC laws, etc. And then how are we going to actually track the data? And then come February, how are we going to do tax forms? So in your previous question, thinking about the databases, they will get you to search and discovery all day long, but you are on your own for everything else after that. So yeah, they're really powerful, but when we think about it, we are more than a database because we're not just that. We do have a database of creators that have all downloaded, applied, and opted in. And so when a brand joins Glewee or an agency and they launch a campaign, the creators that are applying are actually manually raising their hand to work with that brand in real time. They're not just another CSV line item.
Yeah, that's interesting. I also wanted to ask you about this idea of, influencer marketing moving past like pay to play, post sponsorships, and moving towards data backed creator partnerships. What do you think is the right model for getting dating before you get married, crawl before you walk, take your analogy. But, I think you're right that sometimes brands are unreasonable thinking that they're going to do a one-off post with a creator and it's going to have this huge ROI. And it's going to, totally change their trajectory. Yep. And then at the end of the day, like they do something with somebody, it doesn't convert off the first one and then they're on to the next. Can you do a campaign with enough creators to where you can get enough signals off like kind of like a entry level relationship where you can then start to think about, okay, well, this guy, we got enough signals from this first trial post where now we can theoretically maybe up that relationship to something more long-term with more touch points and that is more economically viable because you're doing a package, but without, kind of getting married before you know what the results might look like.
Yeah, like for us, we always suggest that pilot program with the creator. And I think it is kind of that flirting dating phase before getting married, right? We want to make sure that there is authentic alignment, but also good collaboration. Because like there have been times where like the creator has gotten a product and they've even reached back out and been like, hey, honestly, like I don't really align with this as much as I wanted to. And it's like, okay, that's fine. Like, thank you very much for the transparency. I'm really glad we didn't go through 7 hours of contracting for this massive package for a 6-month run. And then other times, the flip side of that, we'll hear a creator say like, oh my goodness, like I am over the moon excited about this. My audience is going to love it. And then they go on to, we're getting feedback.
Sorry, I got my Gardner out front.
So you're okay. So, we'll go on to see that there is great alignment from the creator and the brand. And because of that, the audience loves it. We can see from the signals, there's great audience sentiment or positive sentiment. And there's a lot going on like in the comments and people are resharing and we can see that links are being clicked and there's actual purchase intent, right? So it goes both ways. Like, I think no matter what, that first collaboration is really, really important for the creator to show up and be great and do their best work and put their best foot forward. But also it's up to the brand to look at every last element and say like, okay, how did it do in organic? Now let's put it into paid. Now let's analyze how this piece of content is doing, maybe in an email marketing campaign, or like, does our natural consumer pool like this? And if there is that good alignment, those are the signals that you use to say, all right, let's double down, let's triple down, let's build a 6-month collaboration with, creator A versus creator B.
Love it. All right. You've also talked a little bit about the death of the mega influencer ROI. We talk a lot on the podcast about the decreasing ROI of paying a celebrity millions of dollars to do a single post. You guys are pretty focused on scaling micro and nano operationally. How do you convince Fortune 500 brands to shift their budget away from these kind of, celebrity relationships that they love for this kind of overarching brand campaign? Or is it maybe, yes, and maybe you've got your celebrity at the top and then you kind of are working with creators at all levels of that pyramid that you were talking about before, with kind of the different variations of like mega, celebrity, nano, micro, all the different iterations.
Yeah, I think it goes back to strategy. A lot of times, when a big brand comes to us, whether they're Fortune 5 or Fortune 1K or something, and they're talking about their past brand deal experience with influencers, I'll just candidly ask, like, hey, so how was that, $500,000 post? And then at first, someone that has this glamorous, oh, it did so good. And then out of nowhere, you hear people coming out of the woodworks like, wait, but we actually saw no lift on that. And it's like, all right, wait, let's break this down. Like, let's look at the data. Was this a success? Yes or no? Maybe the execs liked it and maybe it's something to brag about, but did it drive the result that you wanted? And if not, all right, let's build a new strategy. So yeah, there is definitely the yes and. I think when we have budgets that are sizable enough to actually execute the pyramid, we will do, the highest volume of nano micro, and then a little less at the mid-size level, a little less at the macro level. We always like to say we want maybe like 1 to 5 what we call hero influencers in the campaign, because over time it's actually really beneficial to us at the negotiation level if we do have these hero influencers that we bring in, because we can then go to the nano micro influencers and say, hey, look, do you want to be a part of this campaign? So and so is here. Or like, hey,
Yeah,
we just brought on.
adds cachet to it when you've got somebody that they aspire to be like, or that
Yeah,
they
and
look up
also when
to.
we're building these influencer teams, it's really cool to be like, hey, look, nano micro creator, like you're on the same team as so and so who I know you follow because I clicked and looked. Right? It's like you get to build a little more rapport. And for us, like it's good because then we can drive like massive top of funnel awareness with the mega creators. And then as you get lower on the totem pole, meaning like down to mid-size, micro, and nano influencers, you start to move down the funnel. Because the smaller the creator, the higher the engagement rate, the more likely we're going to get those middle and bottom of funnel metrics to actually convert. Whereas the creators that are massive, I mean, they're great for top of funnel. Like it couldn't be better. They're like a megaphone to the world. But to actually get someone to change their purchase decision making behavior, you want a little more testimonial style, a little more my friend told me, a little more micro creator. So that's how we split up those campaigns to best drive those results.
I love it. What is your point of view on kind of the AI avatar space? I saw a pretty powerful demonstration at South by Southwest. I was kind of like, I thought it was, something that we wouldn't see for a while. And then this company from China put up like 4 boards. And then it was like, pick the AI one, and half the room couldn't get it, half the room did. Then they put up 2, couldn't even get like 50-50.
Wow.
And a lot of companies, there's some companies out there that are getting massive valuations that are basically like just licensing a creator's name and likeness and then creating ads without them ever having to turn on the camera. And then, to some degree, I see the way that these products are being marketed to creator economy, because I actually get a lot of ads targeted to me as a creator. It's like, hey, like you can go on vacation, you can like sleep, it's like a way to kind of like run your business and have like personalization with your audience without you having to do everything and interact with every single person, because you can't at some point with scale. I'd be curious, how are you thinking about AI avatars or digital twins, or the use of AI from the content creation perspective? Do you think it's good, bad, maybe a little bit of both?
Yeah, so I mean, like I think the most prevalent to us that we spent a lot of time in I guess Q3 Q4 last year was when it really came onto the scene, was AI ads, right? So I'm in 40 different meetings a week with different brands and agencies, so I'm learning a lot about what everyone's asking for, looking for, expecting. And it wasn't until kind of mid Q4 that people really started saying, oh, we want AI ads, AI influencers, AI this, AI that. And I was like, all right, I was like very open to listening to it and hearing them out. And, we'd have to put our foot down and say, hey, we are a platform of real people showing real products to real people. Like that's what we do here. But, you know, I'm really excited to go see your AI ads. And then it wasn't until like Q1 of this year that everyone in the world started deploying AI ads. And very quickly, I was like looking into a lot of ad libraries and I was asking every ad buyer friend I knew, like, hey, let me get some data on this. And very quickly, what happened was platforms like Meta and all of them, the algorithms, they have to read and write that it is AI, right? So like by law now you'll have a made with AI tag. And so very quickly the algorithms would say, hey, look, this ad is AI and people don't like it, right? So like obviously my grandmother on Facebook loves the AI photos and videos, like, and it's not slop, it's like funny.
They're actually, some of them are good. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
they're cool, right? And like my grandmother gets joy from them. So shout out Facebook for making sure that those stay on the feed because it keeps her eyeballs on it, which is, I mean, Facebook sells attention, right?
Yeah.
And so with that, I think there's a time and place for it. But at the ad level, I think the consumers realize what AI content is. It's kind of binary. Is this AI or not? And people very quickly, especially in like Q1, Q2 of this year, lost trust in it. And I think the algorithms then said, hey, this ad has no trust. It's getting no clicks. It's not driving conversions. Let's favoritize a different ad in the library. And then let's kind of like opt it out. And so quickly, AI ads went from being really cheap to place to now really expensive because Facebook's like, or Meta is saying, hey, look, people don't want this. So I think we very quickly, the tipping point happened. It's almost inverse where we walked ourselves back to like, hey, we want real people and real content. Do I think the technology is killer? Absolutely. I think it's only going to get smarter and better. And I think very soon books are going to be written with AI. We're going to see movies that are primarily produced by AI, media and TV shows. Like a lot of mainstream stuff is going to get AI-ified. But I think on social media, it's always going to be binary. Like that was AI, that's over there. This is real life and over here. And people, even though they're scrolling and they're like kind of locked in on their phones, they want to feel like they're talking to real people. So I think that we're going to continue to see that shift happening.
Yeah, I love that context, especially from a performance perspective. You know, there's always this idea of like ad fatigue, like where
Yeah.
like something new happens, there's a new feature, there's a new ad format, it works really well for like a quarter, and then it just becomes like banner blindness again.
Right. Yeah.
And I love the idea that like AI, because you have to tag it, you know, there's like, I see it with my kids, like my kids are 10 and 12 and 3, but the older ones are like, oh, like they use AI as a pejorative. Like if something is like cheesy, it's like, oh, that's so AI. Right.
Yeah.
So, so if like people if they see the tag, they're like, oh, I don't trust it because it's AI, because that's my Pavlovian response.
Right.
That D ranks, you know, key metrics like click through, clicks, engagement, all the things that matter. Then budgets, you know, that ad inventory, that ad costs more to get out into the world versus something made with real people. So now the premium is actually on real versus AI creation. So
and I think like one thing to think about, I know we only have like 2 minutes left, but
sure.
Last year, Coca-Cola came out and their, I don't know if it was a Christmas ad or their Super Bowl ad, but it was a 90-second spot and it was made with AI. And it got torn to shreds. Like absolute, it was a cool little 90-second spot. And then they had to come out with the behind the scenes and the storyboard and the mood boarding and everything. And everyone was like, man, no, that was lame. Like you guys are Coca-Cola. You're one of the biggest companies in history. And you guys succumb to this? Like creativity's dead internally? Like, you know, you have all these industries that are built upon creativity and people working together to build brands and bring stories to life. And you very quickly, a lot of people felt diminished by that. Like, oh, even they're going to AI. And it was really interesting to watch, like from all these different angles, from a Gen Z or a millennial or an even older perspective, people lose trust in Coca-Cola. Like who would have thought that would happen? And in the moment, I was like, wow, people lost trust in Coca-Cola. Like, isn't that wild to say? And it all happened because, like you mentioned, the Pavlovian response was, oh, that was AI. Like, come on, guys, you're better than that. So I think creativity is going to trade at an all-time high, especially in the future.
I love it. Well, hey, on that note, I know you got a hard out, so I want to give you a chance to do your plugs. Where should people follow along or learn more about Glewee?
Ooh, okay. So Glewee.com. Go to Glewee.com. If you're a brand or an agency, you can fill out like a very beautiful form. Chances are you might even talk to me or an amazing member of my team. And we can build out a great influencer-powered growth engine strategy for you. If you're a creator, you can download Glewee on the App Store, Glewee. I guarantee you'll find it. You can follow Glewee on Instagram. You can follow myself and the team on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions at all, you know what? You can just email me, chris@glewee.com. How about that?
Awesome. Great job, man. Well, appreciate you coming on and spending a little bit of time with the audience. I'll go ahead and put you backstage while I do the sign off so you can jump to your next call. But thanks again for coming on, and we'll be in touch soon, I'm sure.
All right. Thanks for having me, and
All
we'll
right.
chat soon, man.
All right. See you, buddy. All right, everybody. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us and Chris today. Really smart guy and a great way to kick off being back in the studio and bringing you guys live stream shows. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Christian as much as I did and you learned something from it. If this is the first time you're seeing the show, don't forget to give us a follow or a subscribe. If you listen to the show, an honest review on whatever podcast platform you might be listening on is how we find a organic audience. So go ahead and do that. And last but not least, if maybe there's a creator out there, maybe a brand marketer who wants to up level their influencer game strategy, get a little bit more tactical on leveraging a platform to help them scale and to bring their influencer marketing campaign to the next level, or maybe a young entrepreneur who might be inspired by the story that we showcased today with Christian, don't forget to share the show. And with that, I will see you all again very soon. Thanks. Goodbye.